Okay, this is a terrible video of, but I'm gonna do it anyway. These are the books I'm reading, have read, going to read concerning church history. My research for the Lord RBG, and on my rant, and the things I quote, paraphrase, or vaguely remember I've read come from most of these books or a lot of these books, but then of course other things I've researched. But I just want to do a quick little. This way, see, there's a stack. I'm actually missing one. I just recently read and I gave it to my wife. Is called Royal Navy versus the Slave Traders Enforcing Abolition. That's a great book. You should Royal Navy versus the Slave Traders. And this is one I'm going to read soon because I'm doing a White Devils role-playing game, which is same as this, but it's going to be based off of the white colonizer, white supremacist, white devils who ended the slave trade of Africa. Because we white people, or the white people, only had slaves from 1600 to 1900, so less than 300 years. They couldn't deal with it anymore. Whereas the browns and blacks continue to this day and started around 2400 BC. And don't recall any of them ever ending it. There's always these white devils who started at 1600. I mean, they had slavery before that, in the dark age when they were pagans. But as Christians, they did it. Okay, so let me just go through some of these books. I haven't read this one yet. I want to start it soon though. It's all out of order. Okay, this book is The Barbarian Conversion. I read, about half of it, long time ago. So anything I talk about barbarians, and usually when I stop halfway, it's because I know where it's going, and it's kind of too dry and boring or whatever. I got what I wanted out of it. I mean, hopefully I'll start it up again at some point. And usually I read stuff because I have a purpose, so I keep them around in case I do more of this. I probably should read this actually for the Dark Ages, because that's the period. I'm gonna put this in I gotta read this again. Okay. I did this one halfway too, Soldiers of Christ. So this one is actual, written accounts of different missionaries, and I got the gist of it reading about halfway. It's very, I got little moments, tidbits out of it, but most of it is very kind of, it's like weird. I'm like, man, are their lives so that peaceful that they just didn't have that much? There was very little bit, not much about harrowing stuff, and more about just, they're keeping their faith and doing the right things and doing good things. So I just, so for any of you wondering what I read and how I read, I just kind of go crazy. I don't really have an organized way of doing it. Obviously, I'm not an academic. I'm a layman, and I just I get things and want them for, I hope to kind of go back into it and read some more, but I kind of skim through and wow, it's going to continue the same way and stuff. But anyway, this is one I should be reading for the Dark Ages. I mean, I read half of it because these are early church father missionary types, and let's move on. Background of early Christianity. I read about a third of it. You can see my bookmark there. Again, I think this one was just really dry, and when they talk more about sort of the dry political movements of the time, and the dates and the locations, and that's when I'm like, I don't know if this is done that. Yeah, I think so. They're very dry types of things, and I just at some point I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna move on to something else. Yeah, they're very dry. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on a sec. Someone's bugging me. All right, let's move on. The Building of Christendom. This one I read about a third. Again, when it's very dry and academic, I kind of lose interest. Okay, I know where this is going. So, the Dark Ages. This one, looks like I read about half. Or not at all. I don't know. I think this is another one that's very dry too. Like they just do that. They just do like a wide, expansive descriptive thing. So I don't really feel like I'm getting into the depths of it. I just feel like it's very, I don't know. I just don't. After the first 80 years of its existence, the Frankish kingdom, which under 3 generations of warlike monarchs and continued to extend in the borders so fast and so far, ceased suddenly to grow. And so it's just after the first 80 years of what do you mean after the first 80 years? What's going on? They just kind of do a wide brushstroke on everything, and so I kind of lose interest when I get books like that. I mean, I buy these hoping that I'm going to get like this deep insight into particular characters and narratives and stuff. But I'm just going through letting you know what my experience is with. That is my impulse buys, right? These books. Okay, this one has been an eye opener. I've only read that much of it, and one reason I've only read that much of it is it's very, weirdly academically dry. And I even kept a second bookmark, because of how important that section is. But I wanted to save this for when I start to do the Gothic RPG, which is the 14th century, because this is the 14th century. This is the beginning of the witch trials, and so I wanted to. Ooh, man, I wanted to hold on to this and read it more once I start that RPG. So that's kind of why I held off on this one. But it's still pretty dry and rough. But a lot of what I paraphrase comes from this, just from what I've read. Islam at the Gate. I don't know if I've actually read Islam at the Gate. I know a lot of these stories though because of the other books that are coming up. But I certainly bought another book on how Christendom at the brink. A lot of books on Christendom and Islam. Very depressing stuff. So Dominion I'm reading right now, just in spurts, and it's from Tom Holland, and I've quoted him a lot recently, paraphrased this stuff. This one's a really, really cool read. I'm going to continue reading it in spurts. I've read about that much so far, and but good stuff. And he kind of goes through. I'm on year about 600, so in Carthage. But this is actually a pretty good read. He's very mellifluous, but still definitely not as dry as some of these other ones. So it's still a good read. I'm gonna definitely continue on. This is an amazing book. Now church history, I don't know, but this is just amazing. Medieval against Islam, harrowing. There's a scene in there that I remember over and over and just won't forget it, and it is what's happening today concerning the or throughout history. The worst thing of all, the slavery thing, the ratings, the Islamic Barbary Coast slaving rating thing that we sort of have put swept under the rug kind of thing. I mean, yes, slavery rating, period. But think about this: the African slave raids were horrible, and I want to do a game to expose that. But it was Africans raiding other Africans and then selling them on the coast to the white whatever. This one, the Islamic Barbary Coast, is just them raiding everywhere, black, white, whoever, and just them going along the coast for thousands of years and horrifically taking them. Just terrible. All are bad, but this has been going on and still goes on even today. This is a great epic, three kind of huge stories of battle. The Siege of Malta, my favorite read. The Battle of Lepanto and the contest for the center of the world. Epic stuff. And this is of course the Siege of Malta. This is my favorite book, I would say, in the sense of I read this every 5 years or whatever. I think I read this 3 times now. And this is just an amazing book, Great Siege of Malta. Church history or not, and it's very Catholic, but amazing book. You should read this one. Magic and the Witchcraft in the Dark Ages. How much of this have I read? I know I read. Oh, I think maybe I read the whole thing because I got folded everywhere. This was a good one. I mean, and a lot of this is me. I'm just trying to understand paganism, like historical paganism, because we've forgotten it. We've erased it purposely, so that we don't know. Because now it's coming back, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this new modern New Age spiritualism." Hello. Actually, hello. Same stuff. Same transsexual whatever. 7 Lies of the 7 Lies about Catholic History. This one's pretty good. Nice, easy read for you Catholics and me. I really, man, it's so hard to find the Catholic point of view on much of the history of Crusades, Inquisition. I don't even know if this is one of them that has what. Let me just look at what it addresses. The Dark Ages, the Catholic Church, Enemy of Progress, Crusade Against the Truth, the Sinister Inquisition, Science on Trial, the Galileo thing, a church corrupted to the core, Black and Expedient Legend, and there are more. So it's just a constant, barrage of the lies and even the child, the thing today, with the priests. The Gay Priests. This one's Rodney Stark is awesome. I don't even God's Battalions. You should read this one. He does The Rise of Christianity and the Cities of God. I think I have his other books here. Definitely get these if you really Cities of God. This one is good too. If you want to read churches. And these are easy, good reads. So probably these are probably a good starter. The Rodney Stark ones for medieval and how Christianity started and all that. Dinesh D'Souza's What's So Great About Christianity, very good. I probably should read this again. I read it many, many years ago, but this one's good. There's some great moments in there, like descriptions and stuff. Very good. So that's a good one. I read the whole thing. El Cid, man, this one. I don't know if it's a good read for you, but it was a good read for me. But it was crazy. I mean, the amount of back and forth corruption with the Catholics and the Islam, you know, and his allegiances that had to switch back and forth. But eventually, you know, the Reconquista of Spain that got rid of the Muslims. I think that's the only successful Reconquista of a land that the Islam had conquered, had taken over. I think that I know of in history, because everywhere else that Islam conquered, they took out the Jews. They took out Israel. I guess Israel would be maybe another one, but it was not really, whatever. But that was godly. But yeah, Spain is the only one. And this is a book called Long Before Luther, and this is one of the pastors at my church, Nathan Busenitz. This is a good book, and it's what it's saying. What it's claiming, what we Protestants are saying, is that the early church is more in line with us, the Protestants. Okay, I'm not going to argue to. What I would like to say is that the early church is in line with Christians, all Christians, Catholic. And I just think my little nice way of saying this is that the Catholic Church has gotten very ritualistic and, church doctrine, and is moving away from the Bible. Not moving away, I'm not trying to be offensive here. Not trying to move away in a heretical sense, whatever. But moving away in the sense of you're just following these traditions and you're not really... Get back to Bible study. If you're a Catholic and you don't want to leave your Catholic faith, at least as a Protestant, at least what I ask you to do is get a Bible study going. Because in Mass, you don't learn about the Bible. You don't learn through his little 10-minute homily and through the Mass rituals about the Bible. And I understand that the Mass is a wonderful experience, a ritual of worshiping Jesus. I don't like the part where you worship Mary, but the one thing I would claim or ask of a Catholic is to get a Bible study going. You don't even have to have a priest. Well, I don't know, maybe that's church doctrine, but it's about the Word. And anyway, so his thing, long before Luther, the church, and I'm reading, I read Boniface and Gregory and some of their great, by grace alone we are saved. I mean, that's what they say, so that's a Protestant Calvinist view. Another book here. This one I read. I know I read this one. I don't know if I didn't read the whole thing though. Where's my bookmark on this one? Maybe I didn't read this one. Okay, well, Patron Saints of Early and Medieval Italy. Another one where it's the actual written stuff back in the day. The hagiographies. This one and the other one, there are hagiographies, which I found them very underwhelming because they were really about the preaching of the faith, but I wanted to know the dirty, grimy day-to-day dealings with the pagans in the building the churches. That's for the role-playing game. I wanted to know that, whereas the hagiographies kind of focused on their faith and how their faith was strength, and then moving around, so it was a little not exactly what I wanted kind of a thing, but whatever. Okay, this one out of order. I've only read this much of it, but this is about the conquest of Montezuma, Cortez, and the fall of the old Mexico. I really want to do down the road the For the Lord RPG Catholic-y role-playing game where you go into Mazatlan, or you go to is it Mayan or Aztec? Aztec? I think they're Aztecs, right? Or whatever, either one. But the conquistadors and all that, it's a very intriguing thing. I stopped reading it because I want to wait until I do that. So, but dude, some of the stuff at the beginning, he's already describing like the human sacrifices, the skin wearing, and all the stuff that they were doing. I mean, I read it. I was listening to a podcast or YouTube audio where the Cortez was and his men were like talking to Montezuma and all that. There was 200 elaborate dishes at the banquet, and they were like, "We got to be careful not to eat the humans." There was human dishes, cannibal human, and for Montezuma that was they were chuckling that the conquistadors were trying to figure out which ones were the human ones to avoid eating those ones. Yeah, paganism. I didn't read here. It was on a podcast thing, but and it was like an actual account. I just got this book, but this is the same as this guy. And what's the guy's name? And it's Demons and Spirits of the Land by Claude Lecoteau, whatever, Witches, Werewolves, and Pharaohs. I just got this one, but I read this one, Demons and Spirits of the Land, and it to me it was just sort of like I kind of rolled my eyes at all of it. It just was like they do this, they do that, they make this up, they make that up, spirit of this, do that, not fair. But what I did like, I enjoyed reading it, but I don't necessarily recommend it to you, but it really was. It's like D&D. They have fairies, giants, elves, gnomes, all of that. Totally fantasy. That's paganism. So my contention now is that Christians and regular people in the RPG world tell me, "Oh, it's just a fantasy game." I'm like, but this is just fantasy, and yet it's the real world religion. So you can play a role-playing game, just don't bring in your faith, religion, or politics. But what they really mean is don't bring in Christianity. Because they do believe in bringing in LGBTQ friendly, which is left-wing policy. They believe in paganism, which is a left-wing policy. They believe in all of that. Being a hero, doing good works, that's all left-wing stuff. I'm worthy of being a god or worthy of fighting gods or whatever. That's all left-wing ideology, politics, and religion, but just don't bring in Jesus Christ. And that's what frustrates me, and that's my contention now. And I'm fighting role-playing gamers, Christian role-playing gamers, Christians. I'm fighting everybody because that's who I am, and I'm just a jerk. Okay. I haven't read this one. Roman West, I just was archaeology study. I haven't read this one. I don't even know why I ordered it, but it's sitting there. Let me just toss that one. This one I read a long time ago. Barbarians, Marauders, and Infidels. I was into medieval stuff, man. I read this one a long time ago. Don't even remember what it's about, but it's all about Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, a lot of these are like dry. Angels. I have not read this one yet. I should. Angels, Elect and Evil. I bought it though to begin reading about that. That's all I got on that. European Witch Trials. Oh, I haven't read this one yet. Oh my gosh, I got this one because I went through a flurry of buying books. Ooh. I haven't read it yet. Against the Darkness. I haven't read this one either. See, I go through like a spurt of buying a bunch of things. Witchcraft in Europe, 400 to 1700. I haven't bought it yet. Dang it, I haven't read it yet. I gotta get back to reading. I've been kind of slow. Witchcraft in the Middle Ages. I got that one now too. I haven't read it yet. Darn it, I gotta stop making YouTube videos and get back to reading. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to reading. I got a lot to read. Anyway, that's what I've been reading. There's more. There's a few more scattered about on my shelves. But there you go. So that's my answer. I've had a few people ask me about what I read or what's my research. I have this dreamy wish that we had a Wikipedia. Like, not Wikipedia, but like a Wikipedia. You know how like you go to Wikipedia and it's all Star Wars stuff and it's all like interconnected information about Star Wars, you know. And it's so organized. You can click on so many hyperlinks and go down rabbit holes of information. I wish there was something like that for church history and learning about that. I mean, maybe there is. If there is, please let me know. Comment. I don't know, but I just really want to know like all the adventures in church history. I mean, it is voluminous for sure, but there's just so much to read about that, and it's sad because we as Christians doing RPGs, we don't realize how much information is being forgotten, erased, ignored, that really is adventurous, incredibly adventurous. And that's why I'm clinging to the Dark Ages as opposed to doing a Christian RPG with evangelism, church planting, and like a D&D fantasy world. I'd like to do that, but the reason I don't want to do that is because I want to establish some sort of church history, Dark Ages role-playing game, so that because as I'm reading like some of the stuff, I'm like, what? As a Christian, I didn't know that, and I'm reading it. As I'm reading it, it's like this is paganism, the same paganism as today. So that's why I want to keep reading it, or keep with the Dark Ages, and that kind of limits my monsters. I have to get rid of orcs and elves and all that, and put in more of the old European myth and legend and truths as the creatures and monsters that you encounter. So, which is off-putting for many, I understand. In that sense, because I get it. We want a role-playing game that's fun and silly and all that. I get it. But I'm using my hyperbole and my ranting and my get off my lawn curmudgeon to get across the point to you all that we need to revitalize church history for ourselves and for our children and for the culture. And we need to revitalize the church. And that is evangelism and church planting. All right. So that's my books I'm reading. Just want to get that across to you guys. And I will talk to you later. In the game of life, roll holy dice.